In a world filled with big monsters known as kaiju, Kafka is a cleaning worker tasked with cleaning up the remains of kaiju after they are defeated. He once tried to be a part of the defense force tasked with defeating kaiju, just like his childhood friend who's now a captain. But he gave up on his dreams midway. Ichikawa is a new enthusiastic worker in the cleaning force. Meeting him and having a close encounter with a Yoju during work inspires Kafka to go for his dream once again. But there's a twist. A small kaiju comes and merges with Kafka, making him a kaiju himself. What adventures lie ahead for Kafka and Ichikawa in Kafka's new life as a Demi-Kaiju? As Ichikawa admires Kafka and tells him to go for his dream, a small kaiju appears and forcefully enters Kafka's mouth. Kafka's struggles go in vain as he swallows it whole and transforms into the coolest looking kaiju ever. When Ichikawa sees his new form, he gets scared and tries to run away. But Kafka convinces him that it's still him underneath. However, he's not able to convince the old man who has been observing all of this from outside the room. He calls the defense force and puts Kafka on the radar. Despite all of Kafka's efforts to convince the old man, things progressively get worse as he's not used to his newfound strength. So, he takes Ichikawa with him and escapes from the hospital. Kafka is still figuring out how to control his body while Mina suits up to slay him. He realizes that now he'll never be able to join the defense force and starts getting sad about it. He remembers how reliable he was back in the day and how Mina used to admire him, but waking up from his forced flashback, Kafka finds himself near a hiding spot where the two of them might be safe. However, just as they are about to hide, Kafka senses a kaiju nearby with his spidey sense. Ichikawa explains that this might be a great opportunity for them as the defense force will be divided. He convinces Kafka to hide and let the professionals handle the kaiju situation. Somewhere near there, a little girl is seen crying because her mother is buried under the rubble due to the recent kaiju attack. She attracts the monster with her wails and is just about to be eaten before Kafka saves her. He tries to convince the little girl that he's good, but she just gets even more scared. He frees her mother and lets Ichikawa handle their escape while he takes care of the kaiju. He charges up an attack and absolutely murders the kaiju in just one punch. He then starts reverting to normal and reaffirms that he will definitely join the defense force no matter what. The little girl thanks him for everything and he leaves with his partner in crime, Ichikawa. When Mina arrives at the scene and investigates, she finds out that the little girl was saved by a good kaiju, as per the girl's own words.
優しい怪獣さんはやっつけないでくれる？お母さんを助けてくれたの。
3 months later, the cleaning service boys are watching television and finds out that Kafka has been named Kaiju number 8 and is the first one to actually have escaped the defense force. Amidst all of this, Ichikawa receives his own and Kafka's Defense Force Test 1 results. He excitedly takes it over to Kafka after peeking at the paper and tells him that he passed the test. Kafka, still unable to control his powers, remains composed and tells him that he always fails in the second exam, so it's pretty standard up till now. Once Ichikawa leaves though, he finally lets out his excitement and happiness.
よし、リベンジマッチだ。
10 more days later, the test date finally arrives and Kafka is ready for his final attempt at the Defense Force exams. But an annoying loli is here to ruin their day, as she claims that she needs the 55 number parking spot that Kafka and Ichikawa are using. She claims to be Shinomiya Kikoru and feels entitled to everything due to her powerful family. She charges into her battlesuit and lifts the entire truck with one hand, claiming that she slays kaijus as a hobby. She then teases Kafka about how he also smells like a kaiju. The boys avoid the topic and claim that the reason for the smell is their job. Kafka then uses his powers and flips the company truck back. Shinomiya thinks he has a battlesuit of his own and realizes that the competition is finally getting interesting with competitors like this. After some gags with Shinomiya's butler, the candidates start moving towards the testing grounds. Before going further through, Ichikawa scolds Kafka for using his power so carelessly and strictly forbids him from doing so again, as the place is swarming with Defense Force employees. Any shady move and it's game over for them. Once the candidates are inside the testing grounds, they find out that the test will be conducted in two parts, a physical exam and an aptitude test. Kafka tries his best to cover up for his potential lack of aptitude by doing well on the physical exam, but despite his daily training and physical labor, he's unable to keep up with any of the other applicants. He lies in the bottom 10 ranks as he didn't use any of his kaiju powers during the test.
俺だけそんな力使ったら卑怯だろ。
ってカッコつけちゃったけど使っとけばよかったよ。ブランクがやべえよ。
Ichikawa explains that he's actually competing with the most elite and talented people from the country, so he shouldn't get down by any of this. Both Ichikawa and the proctors hype up some of the big names attempting this year's exam. They list Shinomiya as the top candidate, as proven by her excellent position in the top 5 during the exam. Ichikawa then tells Kafka to cheer up because for the past 2 years, the second part of the test includes kaiju disposal work. Kafka lights up at the thought of that because both of our boys are full-blown experts in kaiju disposal. But to no one's surprise, the real test consists of killing kaiju instead of cleaning up after them. However, to walk in front of kaiju and conduct a full-scale operation, the candidates need some protection, and so they are given battle suits specialized in killing kaijus. It turns out you draw a certain percentage of power out of it depending on your affinity, aptitude, and overall skills. Shinomiya's the highest. While Kafka draws out 0% of the suit's power, the chief proctor starts laughing at him for being such a wuss, because there has never been a single such incident in the past where the number was 0. Anyhow, the test begins and as usual, Shinomiya is all over the task as she makes the first skill. Kafka is struggling with his suit, but gets hyped up regardless when he hears that Mina is watching. The boys figure out the trick to pass the test. They realize that the test is not about your kill count, but about your adaptability instead. They adapt to the situation and join a group of test takers with high offensive powers. Kafka figures out the weakness of the kaiju they're fighting thanks to his experience and helps in defeating the monster. As the boys move towards the next one, Kafka gets hit by a surprise attack from another one. He gets severely injured and the examiners start deploying the shield in his suit for his safety. But Shinomiya saves him and establishes her dominance. However, even with the kaiju out of the way, the proctors advise him to drop out of the competition. Kafka uses the power of friendship, gets a brief set of flashbacks, and gets up, after dropping a generic one-liner about not giving up. As a result, his suit power goes from 0% to 0.01%.
今度は絶対諦めねえ。
The speech empowers him and he's able to stand up, but multiple fractures in his legs mean that he can't really move. So Ichikawa carries him on his back, once again proving the strength of his character. The two of them try to make their way through enemy lines and be useful to others, but Shinomiya simply gets ahead of them and kills every single kaiju in the testing grounds by herself. Once they are defeated, the boss kaiju shows up, but Shinomiya makes quick work of him as well. As she is about to go back to flex on Kafka, another kaiju appears from the remains of the boss kaiju and shoots her in the heart. She's able to avoid the killing blow, but the surprise attack continues. The kaiju starts speaking and revives the other kaiju as well, causing mass panic throughout the testing grounds. The speaking kaiju escapes the place after making the area a proper war zone, forcing the candidates to evacuate. Mina takes notice of the situation and deploys her platoon to deal with everything. The proctor and Mina suit up as well and get ready for on-field action. On Shinomiya's end, she keeps getting hurt by one of the revived kaiju's attacks, but still keeps resisting. Another sad flashback starts, and turns out that the girl has daddy issues. She has always been a gifted child, but her father has always told her to aim for perfection. Every success story should dwarf the previous one. That's the kind of life she wants to live. But in the end, her compulsive need to impress her dad forces her not to run away from a fight, and that's how she ended up in this situation in the first place. But just as she's about to pass out, Kafka joins the fray like a hero and comforts her. After that, he transforms into a kaiju, begs her to keep it a secret, and once again demolishes demolishes the threat in one punch like he's Saitama or something. The defense team notices that Kafka's threat levels indicate that he might be the strongest kaiju ever, but they chalk it up to sensor malfunctions. Ichikawa arrives on the scene and forces Kafka to run away. The two of them take Shinomiya to safety and leave nothing for the defense force to deal with. Later, in the hospital, as the two boys are clowning as usual, Mina arrives and thanks them for their efforts in getting Shinomiya to safety. Kafka tries to talk to her, but stops just before he can say anything, as he wants to become an officer first. Shinomiya is getting treated in a much better facility than Kafka and wakes up once her major wounds are dealt with. The proctor arrives and commends her on defeating the kaiju. She hesitates for a bit, but knowing that Kafka's secret must not be revealed, she takes credit for taking down the kaiju.
いえ、あの怪獣は私が倒しました。
Somewhere else in town, the speaking kaiju is sitting in a public toilet trying to operate a phone. At first, he's unable to mimic any human action, but in a matter of seconds, he perfectly imitates a human face and a human speech pattern. He then comes out of there and pretends to be a new employee among Kafka's disposal team buddies. What will happen to this kaiju pretending to be human? When will Kafka's secret come out? When will Mina and Kafka meet properly? All of these questions and more will be answered in the rest of the season. So, stay tuned and keep watching our channel for the latest updates on Kaiju number 8. See you all in our next video. Peace!